The Call to Adventure. Xuanzang's Forbidden Journey to the West. Opening scene. The beginning of a legend. Scene opens with a vast view of the Tang dynasty's capital, Chang'an. The streets are bustling, temples rise in the distance, and monks chant in harmony. A soft breeze carries the sound of bells as a lone figure walks through the city. Xuanzang, a young monk, his eyes filled with purpose. For a monk in the golden age of the Tang dynasty, life was filled with devotion, discipline, and study. But for Xuanzang, a burning question weighed on his mind, one that no teacher could answer. Buddhism had flourished in China for centuries, but something was missing. The scriptures brought from India contained contradictions. Different sects argued over the true meaning of the Buddha's teachings. The original words of the Enlightened One seemed distant, altered, and incomplete. Xuanzang knew that to truly understand Buddhism, he needed to go to its source. He needed to travel to India, the land where the Buddha once walked. But there was one problem. A journey forbidden by the emperor. The scene shifts to the grand halls of the Tang imperial court. Ministers and generals stand before the emperor, maps and scrolls spread across a table. The journey west was dangerous, filled with deserts, mountains, and war-torn kingdoms. Foreign travel had been banned by Emperor Taizong. No one could leave China without permission. The lands beyond were unknown, wild, and filled with dangers too great to risk. Yet, Xuanzang could not ignore the call. How can I seek enlightenment if I fear the path that leads to it? He thought. 4 days, he prayed at the great temple of the White Horse, seeking guidance. Then one night he had a dream. In his vision, he saw himself walking toward the west, past burning sands and icy peaks, until he reached a golden temple where a radiant figure sat in meditation. The Buddha himself. Xuanzang woke with clarity. This was his destiny. No emperor, no law, and no fear would stop him. The secret escape. Under the moonlight, Xuanzang packs a small bundle of supplies. A water flask, a handful of rice, and a few scrolls. With a final glance at the monastery, he slips into the shadows. Xuanzang knew that if he were caught, he would face imprisonment, or worse, execution for defying imperial orders. But the fire inside him burned too brightly to be extinguished. He traveled at night, avoiding cities and checkpoints, taking hidden mountain paths. 4 weeks, he moved in secret, crossing rivers, climbing cliffs, and navigating forests, until he reached the farthest borders of the Tang Empire. There, standing before him, was the first great trial of his journey, the Gobi Desert. Crossing the ocean of death. A vast desert stretches before him, endless waves of golden sand shifting under the scorching sun. The wind howls, and mirages dance on the horizon. Xuanzang takes his first step forward. The Gobi Desert was known as the Ocean of Death. Once inside, there was no turning back. The sands held the bones of those who had tried and failed. Xuanzang had no caravan, no soldiers, no supplies except a single water flask. His only protection was his faith. Day after day, he walked beneath the blazing sun, his lips cracking, his legs shaking. At night, the desert turned to ice, the cold cutting through his robes like knives. At times, he saw mirages, rivers that did not exist, distant temples that vanished as he approached. His vision blurred, and exhaustion weighed on his soul. Then, his water ran out. For 2 days, he walked in a daze, the sand swallowing his footprints. His prayers became whispers, his breath shallow. Just as he felt his body giving in, ready to collapse into the endless dunes, a miracle happened. Through the haze of the desert heat, he saw an oasis. Stumbling toward it, he fell to his knees, drinking deeply from the cool, life-giving waters. In that moment, he knew. This journey was not his alone. The heavens were guiding him. Arrival at the kingdom of Gaochang. A distant city rises on the horizon, its walls glimmering in the sunlight. People in colorful robes, traders, and monks gather as Xuanzang enters the grand gates of Gaochang. After surviving the desert, Xuanzang reached the kingdom of Gaochang, ruled by a Buddhist king named Xuanzang. The king was astonished that a lone monk had survived such a journey. He welcomed Xuanzang with open arms, offering him food, shelter, and a place in his court. "Stay," the king urged. "You will be honored here. Why continue such a dangerous path?" But Xuanzang refused. "I must go on. The true teachings of the Buddha lie further west." Seeing his determination, The king gave him guides, supplies, and a caravan to escort him through the next part of his journey. And so, Xuanzang continued, crossing the snow-capped mountains of the Hindu Kush, the legendary cities of Samarkand and Bactria, and the war-torn lands of northern India. The true call to adventure. Cut to an older Xuanzang, years later, standing before the towering temples of Nalanda, surrounded by Buddhist monks. His journey has led him to the very heart of knowledge, the place he had dreamed of reaching since the beginning. After 3 years of travel, Xuanzang finally reached India, the holy land of Buddhism. His journey was far from over, but he had passed the first great test. His dream had become reality. And yet, deep in his heart, he knew his true adventure had only just begun. Conclusion. The power of a journey. Xuanzang's story is more than history. It is a testament to human will, faith, and the pursuit of knowledge. He was not a warrior, nor a king. He carried no weapons, led no armies. Yet his determination and belief changed history. His call to adventure was not just a journey across deserts and mountains, it was a journey of the soul. And today, over 1,000 years later, his footsteps still echo in the sands of time. Final scene. A journey that never ends. The screen fades to an image of modern travelers walking the Silk Road, following the path Xuanzang once took. A quote from his journal appears on the screen. The road is long and filled with trials, but the heart that seeks truth will never be lost.